Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where I aim to answer and solve your bike-related problems. So if you've got one, leave it down there in the comments section and I will do my very best to get you rolling as soon as possible. Let's crack on then, shall we, with the first question this week. It comes in from Cell C, who says, "What up, John?" Yeah, what up? I have a couple of small paint chips on the bottom of my chainstays. What should I use if I want to touch up those spots? Right then, what you could do is message the manufacturer or importer of your bike and see if they have any spare little touch-up pots of paint, because some of them do in fact carry it. Failing that, maybe pop along to a local model shop or auto accessories store where they sell a huge variety, very often, of different types of paint, and you're likely to get something in a very good match. Failing that, you could go into a home store, so like one of these big DIY depots, and they can actually match up the exact colour paint very often from presenting them your bike. Now, it might not be very waterproof though, that's the only problem. Failing that, nail varnish, that is another solution too. And then when you do get that paint and you have put it on there, make sure you get some clear nail varnish and actually cover it up so it's a little bit waterproof and it stays on there. Now, Tomek wants to know, they've got themselves a clicky chain, which happens after about 30 to 50 kilometers when riding. And the strange thing is, it only happens on the right downstroke and it's just a single click. What could it be caused by? Apparently, wiping the chain and jockey wheels with a cloth after each ride does help a bit. Right. One possible reason that you notice it after that time is because you're more warmed up and you're actually releasing a little bit more power. But let's actually get down to what the problem could be. Have a look at your chain very, very closely and carefully and make sure that none of the links of the chain have any tiny little cracks on them. It is going to take you a while because you've got 114 links possibly, something like that, but it's more than worth it because if you snap a chain, you generally tend to know about that and it's not very pleasant. So have a good look at that. Make sure also your chainring bolts are done up nice and tight to the correct torque and that your right pedal is done up correctly, and possibly actually use on all those parts some anti-seize, so something like copper paste, because that can also reduce any clicks. Failing that, make sure that your gear hanger bolts are done up correctly because they have been known to cause a creak which has been problematic in the past. Nathan Green wants to know, "Hey John, great show." Thank you, Nathan. "I'm looking to upgrade from Ultegra 6800 to the R8050 Di2 group set. I have a relatively new 6800 crankset that I would like to keep if possible. My question is, can I use the R8050 Di2 front derailleur with the 6800 crankset? Thanks." Yep, it's going to work absolutely fine. I've done that myself and it works fine. 10 and 11 speed, they do work absolutely fine. 11 and 11, absolutely fine too. So go ahead, fill your boots, enjoy that happy riding. Now, Steve Humphreys has got a braking problem, which is never good. Right, so they've got a rear brake, Campagnolo. It doesn't stay centred after using it and rubs slightly. And as a nearly 60-year-old man living in Spain, he thinks it's to blame for the poor performance against the younger Spanish riders. Right then, Steve, first up, let's make sure that the nut which is holding the caliper in place is done up tight enough. Failing that, maybe it's a fraction too long because those nuts do come in different lengths, and if it's too long then the caliper's not going to be able to be tightened up fully. Also, make sure you're using those serrated washers that sits in between the caliper and the stay, so the brake stay, so that kind of digs into both the brake caliper as well as the frame and stops it from moving at all. So make sure you're using one of those, and I reckon you'll be good to go now and have better braking, and you'll be able to destroy those younger, fitter, did I say fitter? Well, those younger Spanish riders. Callum24 wants to know, if I buy a brand new front wheel and replace the hub and spokes correctly, will it be suitable to ride as a back wheel? Also, I was just wondering, in a sprint against my friends, I feel I get more power on the hoods. Should I be on the drops? Well, to my knowledge, with the rim question, absolutely fine. Some rear wheels are asymmetrical, so all of the spoke holes are placed on one side of the rim rather than in the centre. So for a front wheel though, well, that's not going to be built like that in the first place, so you're good to go. As for the sprinting, Most riders, or in fact certainly all bunch sprint riders, tend to sprint on the drops of the handlebars because they can fully connect their hands around the grips and get a lot more torque and power, rather than on the hoods, which, if you don't use mitts for instance, could get a little bit sweaty, and also you can't get the same torque through that you can through a pair of handlebars. Now, Lindsay McCrory wants to know, do different chains have different life expectancies? Their drivetrain is treated like royalty. I'm glad to hear that. It's cleaned after every ride and lubed when needed. Are there any higher quality chains that would have a longer life? Oh, it's a great question, that. As far as I know, there are no ultra long life chains out there. But in my mind, certainly the lighter weight a chain is going to be, the less long lasting it's going to be, really, because it tends to be made out of lighter materials which possibly don't last as long. However, there is a chain made by YBN, which is a chain manufacturer, and they actually make a titanium chain. Now, the whole thing is not titanium, but parts of it are, so possibly that could last a little bit longer. I have heard reports they last between 6,000 to 8,000 kilometres, so that's certainly longer than the 2,500 to 3,000 kilometres that you say you've got. So yeah, there could be some science in there. I'm afraid I don't know myself though. Mengai 1967, they've got some wireless connection questions. So, hi John, is there any way you can use the hidden buttons on the Dura-Ace 9100 shifters to start and stop recording on a GoPro session camera? Nice question. I love a bit of tech like this. Now, as far as I'm aware, there is not any functions you can control on your GoPro, certainly from those buttons on your levers. But I reckon in the future, we are going to see loads more interaction between devices on bikes to make almost like hands-free riding possible. When I say hands-free, I don't mean that you can ride around no-handed. I mean that you can start to operate different products on your bikes via these buttons on shifters. Now, Max Ernst Weber, they want to know they're planning to get themselves a pair of Mavic Cosmic Ultimate UST disc wheels. That's a mouthful. They are tubeless specific, but I was wondering if I could run a normal road bike tyre like Continental GP4000s with inner tubes on them. They really like the look of the wheel set and they match the budget. Thanks in advance. Greetings from Switzerland. Right, the good news is those wheels are actually tubeless ready, so you can use them both tubeless and also with tyres and tubes. So the good news is you can run them with those Conti GP4000s that you want to. So there you are, happy riding and enjoy those new wheels all over Switzerland. Now, Rory Bell wants to know, I was curious as to whether it was possible to run SRAM Red ETAP as a one-by system, ditching the front mech to lose a bit of weight, etc. If so, what things would you need to be aware of or wary of when running it? Cheers, keep up the great content. The good old one-by hack. So I'm not sure if you saw a video I did a few weeks back when I converted a bike into one-by, but no manufacturer out there actually recommends hacking around a one-by system. So, I am going to answer your question though. What would you need to be aware of? Well, personally, I would probably buy a narrow wide chainring. So that means it has a better interface with the actual chain, so keeping it in place. Now, using a standard rear derailleur, so one without a clutch, you are running the risk of the chain actually dislodging. So just be really, really aware of that. Something else which you're probably likely to need is a derailleur hanger extender. What does that do? Well, it screws onto your existing derailleur hanger, and that allows you to place your existing rear derailleur a couple of centimetres below where it previously was, meaning that then it can accommodate a wider range of ratio on the cassette. So that's probably what you're most likely to need, because by going one-by, of course, you are going to lose that really extremes of your gearing. So you're not going to have, for instance, a 39-28 anymore. You're going to have a 50-32 or 36, and most rear derailleurs of a short cage variety can't accommodate that. But by using one of those extenders, it's most likely able to. Final question this week comes from Hector Daniel Vargas. Is it possible to use the quick release skewer that comes with a tax trainer on the road? I want to switch between trainer and road and don't want to be changing the skewer every time. Is there something that says that such a skewer only works on the trainer? Right then, Hector, good to see that you're riding both indoors and outdoors, making the most of all your time. So for those of you who don't know, some turbo trainers actually clamp onto the skewer of your rear wheel as opposed to removing the wheel and having a direct drive system. So those ones that clamp onto the skewer, generally The skewers that are provided are pretty heavy because they're made of steel and they're quite rounded and stuff like that, so that the clamping forces can get as much bite onto that skewer as possible, because obviously when you're on a turbo, you're putting through quite a lot of watts, and that's what's holding you in place. The good news is you can use that turbo trainer skewer outside. It's not going to do any damage whatsoever. It is going to weigh a little bit more than a standard skewer because, like I say, it's normally a little bit bulkier. But yeah, absolutely fine. Go out there and enjoy yourself, Hector. So there we are. That's the end of this week's GCN Tech Clinic. I do hope that I've been able to help answer your problem. If not, leave it for me down there in the comment section below and I'll do my very best to answer it in the future. And also, like and share this video with your friends, especially if they've got one of these annoying problems that I've just helped solve. And also, don't forget to check out the GCN shop at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, where we have a whole heap and variety of goodies for you to check out. And now, for 2 more great videos, how about clicking down here and down here?